more. But to discuss this jobs report, let's bring in North Carolina Congressman Dan Bishop. Congressman, so much to get to. Good to see you. A lot to touch on between the report and the border. I want to just start off. Man, this is not the Friday that the White House expected. These job numbers were way less than the projections that they had anticipated.
You know, Sean, if Mr. Biden was right that it was because of the Trump administration's mishandling of the virus that things are hard to deal with, it should be picking up now, right? He's had this vaunted rollout of the vaccine. Things are better. They're immensely better. But I'll tell you something, Sean and Lindsay. The most common comment I hear in speaking with persons managing or owning businesses over the last many months is that people are being paid to stay home. They won't come to work. And you see what's happening. The dumping tons of deficit-financed cash into the system when we could be going back to work is what's holding the economy back. That squarely rests on Mr. Biden.
Well, Congressman, I want to play for you what one CNN commentator said why people aren't going back to work. Listen to this.
But there are a lot of other factors, too, including lack of access to child care, public transit cutbacks, the risk of getting sick at work, the risk of, frankly, getting assaulted at work if you tell a customer to wear a mask, et cetera.
I mean, the fact that people are afraid to go back to work because being assaulted, I mean, do you think there's any truth to that?
They will say absolutely anything. That's unbelievably absurd. What's happening is that government is getting in its own way. People should be, now, there may be places where schools are not fully back in session. That should be happening as well. Unions are teaming up, teachers' unions are teaming up with the CDC to keep from getting schools open, but it's happening in most places, and people can go back to work when schools are in session. It's the reason is that they're dumping cash out into the system and instead of letting people get back to business.
So I was watching the morning news the other day, and they were talking about Uber and Lyft drivers. Right now, there's a surge. It costs more to get a ride because they can't get enough drivers to drive. Wow. McDonald's is offering like 500 new jobs in particular areas. You're walking by small businesses that have the help wanted signs in them. When I talk to folks at both restaurants, dry cleaners, you name it, they're telling me that the problem is people won't come to work because there's no incentive. They're making more money to stay at home, and they refuse to come to work. How are we going to get the economy going if the government's paying them to sit at home?
It's as simple as night and day, Sean. That's not going to happen, and the government is holding us back. Biden professes government to be the solution to everything, but it is getting in the way. It is necessary for the United States to get back to a productive life. We're ready to do it. We've got the pandemic getting under control. People are ready to go back to work, or at least businesses are ready to operate. But if you can't get people to come in because they're being provided enough cash to stay home, it's just not going to happen. And you see this huge miss. They expected maybe more than 1 million jobs and just 266,000 in April.
Wow. Wow, unbelievable. I do want to get to the border with you. The Biden administration recently sent Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas to Donna, Texas, to tour a facility there. Here's what he had to say.
When our administration began, we inherited a system that had been torn down and dismantled.
Okay, well, this comes as the Washington Post reports that the number of deportations carried out by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement last month was the lowest on record so far. This is insane. Are you worried at all that the low numbers of deportation and what that means for who is coming into our country?
Certainly am, Lindsay. You know, I was at the border in the beginning of April. I was at the Donna facility that Secretary Mayorkas spoke from. The reduction in deportations is accompanied by the highest levels, and not only in March, but it's going to be the same, a little bit higher, and even than in April. As soon as those numbers come out, we already see projections on that. Highest numbers in 20 years. And the Biden administration, when they say something's been dismantled, what they're talking about is they want to build the system to increase throughput. Illegal immigrants coming in, unaccompanied minors, family units with small children being distributed into the United States. They want it to happen faster. They are exacerbating a disaster. The Trump administration had this problem under control. That's what the Biden administration should be working on, and the way they could do it is by reestablishing the Trump policies. They are begging for a disaster.
That's right. Congressman, before I let you go, I got about 30 seconds, but I wanted to ask you, I understand that you may be introducing some legislation next week dealing with critical race theory. What's it about?
Well, that's right, Sean. You know, critical race theory, we see it being spread in school systems throughout the country. Ironic story, UNC School of Journalism just gave a full professorship to Nicole Hannah-Jones, the purveyor of the 1619 Project, the lie about the foundations of America by the New York Times. This is being promulgated. There's a curriculum from that going all over the country. My bill will prohibit federal funds from being used to perpetuate or advance the concept or the notion of critical race theory. And it'll also codify the executive order President Trump had banning that within the federal government. This is poison to the American psyche, to the American system. It is as contrary to the American foundational ideas in our Constitution as anything could be. We need to be moving to a society with greater racial harmony, not greater racial division and victimization.
Congressman, we look forward to hearing more about it when we have you back on the show. Thanks a lot for being with us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Sean.